right, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the SAFI Employee Development Talks, SED Talks. I am, as always, your host, Robert Smith, here talking and chatting it up with all you lovely peeps. Today, we're going to talk about proactive recruiting. We've all been in conferences and webinars and read articles about being proactive. But do we really know what that means? What does that entail? We can all say it's better than being reactive, but what does that mean? How do we compare proactive versus reactive? In regards to recruiting, getting our new hires, getting the best quality staff that we can in-home. Today I'm going to have a very special guest. It is Miss Heather Rice, the Employee Development Director here at SAFI, who's always willing to talk about proactive recruiting. She's kind of heading up an initiative to get that rolled out here SAFI-wide. And we just want to have a chat and kind of talk about what that means for SAFI in general. So Heather, welcome.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. Let's just kind of start off the bat by going, what to you is being proactive?
Well, being proactive is, for me, is just doing things, taking care of things before you need to, before it becomes an issue or before it has to be done.
Right.
You address things before they come into play, become an issue.
Good. Yeah. That's kind of the what it all boils down to. A good analogy I always heard when I was training elsewhere in my former life is being proactive versus reactive. You're standing in the middle of traffic and you're facing the same way as traffic. So all you get to do is react as the cars are whizzing by you, going 90 miles per hour. Whereas if you were, I don't know, turned around and actually facing the traffic coming at you, you may be able to react and get out of the way and not be that splat stain on the asphalt. That's always kind of been what it's meant to me. In regards to hiring and recruiting, what does that mean? What does that look like to you?
Well, for hiring and recruiting, the term recruiting, in my opinion, is going after something. It's an active process where I would go and when I was a recruiter, I would actively search for people who might be a good fit in my organization. And it happened everywhere. It happened when I was at the store, maybe at the gym, certainly within the organization, always keeping an eye out for people who might make sense for another opportunity within my organization. So it is proactive in nature because the majority of the time, even though I was a recruiter and I was filling positions, I also just kept an eye out for the positions, A, that were often used or often open, and B, people that I wanted to work with. I often look for people I want to work with, even if it's not on my team. Like, I just want you to be part of this organization with me.
Mm. And we did something similar too, again, in a previous life is, it doesn't have to even be a friend or a neighbor or a colleague or somebody that you know on a personal level. Certainly that's a well of people that you can dip into when you're looking to proactively recruit. It could be, like you said, just somebody at the store, somebody at the gym, working in retail at a store. I would check out every person that I interacted with. Was there somebody that had really great customer service? Somebody that had a really good positive attitude? Going through line, did the cashier look like she actually wanted to be there that day, or he wanted to be there that day? Somebody that kind of went above and beyond, because those are the qualities you kind of wanted to look for. It may not necessarily relate to the position you're looking for, but there's always going to be something open for somebody that's genuinely a good person and has a good attitude and has a good positive vibe and can take care of customers, because customer service is everywhere. We, as you guys know, the OD&R department, we're all about customer service. You guys are our customers. So it does relate. And sometimes you find those people in the least obvious positions. They just kind of stumble upon them. But what I'm kind of hearing is it's not necessarily, like I said, your friends and colleagues, but you can find these people in any interaction in your life throughout the
Absolutely.
day to day.
Absolutely. I remember a time where I was looking. I actually I've had pretty good success in working with people that like recruiting people who I've formerly worked with as well. Um, where I see a position in an organization, and the person that I know from my previous work wasn't actively looking for work, but I said, I think you'd be a good fit in this organization. And what's interesting is it wasn't even my organization. I just knew of someone who was looking for someone and was able to bring those people together. And it actually ended up being a very good fit because I knew enough about this individual to be able to think in their best interests. And again, with proactive recruiting, when you have the freedom to choose who you're bringing into an organization because you're not desperate, the position isn't open yet, you're not desperate, you have it's amazing how free you are to just sit and be present with people and learn about what they're about, what they like, what they're looking for in a role. And some of the people you talk to won't make sense for you. You may have made a good friend who's now passionate about the work that we're doing, especially working in what I like to call for-purpose organizations. But being able to connect with them on that level and figure out what it is that they're looking for, and looking back in my organization to say, okay, where does that fit? After we've decided that they have the cool thing. You mentioned something about the different skill sets, and how you just get a vibe from someone. You get that feeling from someone, like they treated you a certain way, or they laugh in a certain way, or they engage with you. They engage with a stranger a way that most people don't engage with strangers, which may be indicated the type of customer relationship that they can build. Those are all things that you can't teach.
Exactly.
And so one of the things I like to do is just stay mindful of that. Like, look for those innate qualities in a person, because when it comes to teaching the work that we do, I can teach somebody how to navigate through the system. I can teach them how to, learn what's going on in the different states within SAFI and all of that. But what I can't teach is how to have compassion for people, how to listen to people, how to listen for a solution, as opposed to, formulating their own ideas before they've actually heard what the person's talking about.
I kind of concur with that. As you can teach somebody a skill. Skills are relatively easy. You go to trainings, you go to webinars, you do all that type of stuff. Quality of character, that's something that's not necessarily something that is easily built upon. There are things you can do to try to better it, but if somebody has that inherently, that's a big win in regards to characteristics of a personality. You kind of touched on something I'm not sure we had mentioned previously that really makes this talk about proactive recruiting is not necessarily waiting for a position to be open. Actually doing recruiting well before that position came up every day, just in practice of when a position comes open. I think, speaking to the SAFI folks here, I'm sure all of you are nodding your heads when I say we've all been in those divisions, those situations where we're down a team member, maybe 2, maybe 5, maybe 10.
Gosh, yeah.
And the added stress and turmoil that comes with it, the added burden from the extra work that all the staff has to take on, but especially for the hiring managers, you feel like your hair is on fire. And you're running around scrambling just to get a warm pulse into that position so that you can stop that workflow from happening. Proactive recruitment's your answer to that. You don't have to settle for the heartbeat in a chair, or as one of our illustrious assistant EDs says, upright and sober. You don't have to settle for that. You're not going through the weeks upon weeks upon weeks of sifting through applications and going through interviews that just aren't leading anywhere, and then you're settling on a candidate. With Proactive Recruiter, as soon as that position opens, you have one, hopefully three, maybe 10 people in mind that are already best suited for that position and that they're going to be a good interview and they're probably going to be a good fit. You're just kind of feeling out who's the best fit at that point, let alone, or as opposed to, is what I was trying to say, finding somebody that just kind of fits that mold. So when it comes in regards to that, that's what you want to be doing. You always want to have your eyes open. You always want to be looking and searching and kind of feeling people out. That's not something that takes extra time out of your day, really. It's just kind of being aware of things that are going on around you. It's just taking a couple seconds to notice somebody and kind of jot down a name, reaching out to them, networking. Some of the best resources you can do, we're all about social networking nowadays. Hit these people up on Facebook, hit these people up on LinkedIn, do some spying, shamelessly spy on people, try to find out what's going on behind the surface and make sure that these are, genuinely good fits for what you're looking for, that the vibe that you're getting is matching the information that you get. And hopefully that gets you a good candidate. But I kind of went on a negative side on that, and that's kind of leading into my next question. What are some of the pitfalls, do you think, Heather, of really kind of only focusing on that network of people? Do you foresee any issues with only going with friends, neighbors, colleagues, people that you might have a relationship outside of the work side?
Yeah, because you're cutting off everybody else.
Exactly.
So I think that what you said about going out onto the social networks, LinkedIn, for example, I have an example of what I did. So when Devante was part of our team, he and I had been having conversations in our supervision time, and I knew several months before he left that he was looking to move on and do other things. And for those who may be wondering, he's doing really, really well. He's just published his first book. We're very excited for him.
Check it out on Amazon. We love you, Devante.
Yes. But anyway, so he, we had those conversations. So about that, at that time, of course I didn't have the opening yet. And I wasn't putting it out there that he was looking to leave because anything can change, right? But as a leader, it's my responsibility to make sure that, we fill things, quickly and so forth. So when he mentioned that, I went to LinkedIn and I started doing searches for candidates, and I just did an open search for people, and I look for people in the Columbus area because we have a fairly large population around Columbus, Ohio. And I searched for keywords on profiles, and some of the keywords that I looked for were social justice, social justice was the main one I looked at. I did look at child welfare and things like this, and knowing that it was going to yield a bunch of candidates back to me, A, that I didn't know, and B, who may or may not be interested in moving on. That's the point of recruiting. You have the opportunity to go through that list of people. And what's interesting is that a couple of the people worked at Children's Hospital, and Zita had just joined our team a couple months earlier, and she came from Children's Hospital. So I reached out to Zita. I'm like, hey, Zita, do you know either one of these ladies? And she didn't know why I was asking. I was just curious because I wanted to see if I could, talk with them a little bit.
Get some dirt. Good.
Yeah, exactly. I need to get some dirt on these people and figure out, does it make sense to reach out to them and see if they would be interested in joining our organization if I shared with them the awesome work that we're doing here. Maybe they want to get away from the big giant hospital system and come be part of something that's forward leaning and wanting to serve internal customers while serving the greater the greater good of our communities that we serve. And that's all before I knew you were interested. So, but that's the point, even here internally, there were several people that had reached out to me that they were interested in joining our team. And there are people that I talk to. I talk to every single person who applied for this role. Because I want to know where they want to be in their career, and does this make sense for them, or do they make more sense elsewhere? So, I still remember the conversations I had in that. But yeah, taking that opportunity to go out and search what's out there, the best candidates I have found in my career that have been the, best return on investment are the people who were not looking for work.
Exactly.
And these are people who are not going to apply. They're not going to look for our job postings. These are the people who I've reached out to, I've had conversations with, and we're just kind of like acquaintances / friends. And then when the opportunity presents itself, I'm like, hey, there's an opportunity. You ready to jump? Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. The relationship is never a waste. I mean, because what have I lost? I have an occasional lunch buddy now. There may be a time where they join our organization or not.
Right.
So.
And that's another good point too. Is you always hear the phrase "timing is everything," and in the instance of proactive recruitment, that's actually not the case. One, you're recruiting for a position that's not open. So if you're approaching somebody and they're really gung-ho about joining your organization, you can't really help them right now because that position's not actually open. And that may seem like a detriment, but it does work out in the end, because the flip side of that is the person you're recruiting might not be looking, as Heather said. So by the time that position does open up, and maybe not even this one time, maybe the next time, that person may be in a different headspace. That person may be, still gung-ho about joining the organization, or the person that wasn't willing to jump ship may be willing to jump ship at that point. Things change all the time in our lives. I give Heather the example of me actually leaving retail. Happened on a fluke occurrence. For those of you that know me, I was a Walmart guy for about 10 years. Don't hold that against me if you're not a Walmart guy, but I was. I was a manager. I got a customer complaint out to our Tire Lube Express. We had done something and messed up an oil change for a guy's car. And I walk up, and it happened to be a guy that I was acquainted with through bowling. Knew him just on a casual level. I'd hung out with him a couple times. But I just addressed the situation. I took care of it. I took care of him, made sure we got everything fixed. Gave him the gift card. Anybody that's ever had any issues with Walmart, that whole spiel. I did that. And walked away. Hey, see you, Jeremy. Good seeing you again. Take care. End of story. That was it. That was the situation. It was 5 months later, I'm at a state bowling tournament that this person, Jeremy, actually showed up to. He approaches me completely out of random. Hi, Robert. How's it going? And says, hey, I have a position in my distribution center. He was a distribution center manager. I have a shift manager position, and I had been thinking about you. I want you for the spot. Let me know what you think, and walks away. Completely random. Let me just say, my wife was sitting right there. I look at her and I go, did
that just happen?
Did I just get a distribution center manager spot for a Walmart retail guy from a random occurrence? And I was not looking to leave at that point. I was really pushing for my HR career. I was trying to get something within Walmart in that realm, but it piqued my interest. Because why would somebody randomly come up and ask that? So I did some digging, did some research, talked to him a little bit more, and he flat out said the reason that he approached me and the reason that he wanted me as the candidate was because I took care of the situation in a professional manner. I did it as it was supposed to be done. I took care of the customer, and that's the type of qualities he was looking for in this position. So you could not tell me at any point in my life that one random occurrence at a TLE customer would stem to that position, which would eventually lead me into getting into Safi and getting into that HR career. So it really is a random occurrence. And it does happen to where people that aren't looking or people that aren't really interested today, that may change.
Absolutely.
Headspaces change all the time. So again, you always hear timing's everything. It's not always the case with proactive recruiting. Go ahead and hit those people up, talk to them about it, give them your selling points, give them your spiel, get to know them, because it may not be the perfect fit today. You may not have that position today, but a month down the line you may have it. It may, as I said before, it may even be the third time that you're filling it. Maybe the person you filled it with goes on to bigger, better things within or without the company. Position opens up again. You still have those people in your back pocket. So it's not a today planning. It's all about that future proactiveness.
Absolutely.
Proactivity.
And, I think that another thing in addition to that is, what we're doing, you can look at it as proactive recruiting for your positions, but I would challenge us because, the majority of the managers in this organization are responsible for a percentage of our business. So maybe these relationships that you're forging are not just potential people to come work for us, but they could be what Veronica calls friends of Safi. So maybe the person you're talking to, you thought it was going to be a potential, employee, but you find out that, they're really interested in volunteering. They have a skill set that they can bring and maybe teach our foster parents. Maybe they are interested in being a foster parent or becoming an adoptive parent. Or again, they could be someone who might, themselves, or they may be, connected with other organizations who might want to be a corporate, partner of some sort with Safi, and, whether it's sponsoring something for a division or a state or, organizational wide nationally. You never know who these people are. I have a story about that. It doesn't have to do with recruiting necessarily, but just the idea that, you never know who you're talking to. My dad has a dear friend who does copper work up in Alaska. And Robert, I think I may have told you this story before.
I'll listen to it again. It's a good story.
So he was out and, fixing a sign out in front of his house. And it was a copper sign. It's very ornate and beautiful. And this car drives up, and the guy in the car talks to my dad's friend and says, "Hey, do you do copper work?" And the guy's like, "Yeah." He's just a gruffy, Alaska dude, independent, like out in the middle of nowhere, wondering what this random guy is doing talking to him. And the guy in the car says, "Well, I'd be interested in having some, work done or whatever." And he's in the carpet or the copper worker said, "Well, I don't do a lot of work, I don't do a lot of work for people I don't know, and I'm fairly expensive or whatever." And the guy in the car says, "Well, let me introduce myself. My name is George Lucas." He's the creator of Star Wars, for those of you who don't know. And my dad's friend had no idea, he knew Star Wars, but he didn't know George Lucas. And he said, and in the car behind me is Bill and Melinda Gates. They were on their way to a funeral for the first female Iditarod runner, and they happened by this guy's house. Well, my dad's hearing this story in the bar, with his buddy, and he's like, "George Lucas is the guy from Star Wars. Like, he created Star Wars." And of course, the copper worker knew that at that point, because he had to explain, George Lucas was gracious enough to explain who he was. But George ended up sending an apprentice to come work with this copper worker and then come back down to Skywalker Ranch. But the bottom line is you never know. You just never know who you're talking to. So it doesn't make sense to discount any encounter. Like I said, you may find, this is your next, star person to join your team, or they could be the next board president of Safi. We don't know. So to shut people off or to not go out and at least try, we're only doing ourselves a disservice, I think.
Absolutely. And just to confirm the rumors, yes, it was to build a life-size C-3PO statue for George Lucas. Another point you kind of touched on that is having, maybe it's not for the position that you're hiring for. It is an outside partner. Even within Safi, it may be for something that's also within Safi, just not what you're specifically looking for. I know we had talked previously about, you're sitting there, you're doing hiring for a TFC case coordinator, and somebody with a similar degree sits in front of you, but they're really into family preservation. Maybe not the best fit, maybe not the best candidate for the case coordinator. Hopefully you do have a better one. But your division doesn't have a family preservation section yet, so you kind of pass it off. Well, we're expanding. You know, SAFI, I don't know if you guys have noticed, SAFI's getting pretty huge. I've only been here for 3 years. We've gained a state. We've almost doubled our staffing size just in the time that I've been here. The people that have been here longer tell me that's pretty much how it's been for the past 5 or 10 years. So you may not have a position that fits that person now, but you could. In the future, it may not even be your division. Maybe it's a neighboring division. Maybe it's a state. Maybe it's for the America office, whatever it may be. But there may be a spot for them. You know, when I would do interviews for one department, you know, if I knew that we had an opening in another manager's department and that person was a better fit, I'd pass them on to them, because it's all about the team. It's all about getting the best person in the best spot for the team. And yes, it may mean another week of interviews for you, but at least another piece of the puzzle and the big SAFI pie is being filled and being filled correctly. So, Heather, I want to thank you. We're running a little bit long. I want to keep our peeps at a nice even level.
Absolutely.
But always a great time talking with you. I know we'll have you back on in the future. Any closing words in regards to proactive recruitment?
Well, just never, always keep your options open. Don't close yourself off. We want people working here who really love our story and really love what we're doing and are passionate about what we're about. And the way to really find those is to just start talking to people and get them excited about what we're doing here.
Awesome. Great closing argument. Heather, again, thank you for coming on. We appreciate everything you do for us. Everybody, it's been a great time talking with you once again here on the SAFI Employee Development Podcast. As always, we will see you in the future. But until then, peace, love, goat cheese, and as always, please, please, please enjoy your moment of Zen. Bye.